Hello and welcome to Tales from the Paper Darkness, Gothic short stories and poems by Derwin Seraphine. Tonight's episode, Memories. White Gardenias. The smell hits me every single time, almost knocking me off of my feet as I come through the gate. Even now, so many years later, it is that smell that accosts me as I enter. There aren't any flowers in this place. Not anymore. There haven't been any for years, and yet the smell still lingers. I almost expect to see them there as I turn. The beautiful white flowers in their usual place, and her standing beside them. But they are gone. They withered and died the day that she was lost. What had seemed evergreen, everlasting, and so strong, gone in an instant. My white gardenia. Wooden trains. When we arrived, they were nowhere to be seen. They had been perfect, absolutely perfect. I sighed deeply as we trudged around the old toy shop, my steps heavy with the disappointment I knew we both felt. If we had only gotten there a little quicker, left a little earlier, I thought, as he scuffed his feet petulantly, puffing through his nostrils. You can pick anything else, sweetheart, anything you want. But the words were hollow around us. It was the trains or nothing. I knew that. Of course I did. But I had to try. I had to try and pull my nephew out of his despair somehow. Nathan shrugged and turned back towards the door. The little gasp that escaped his mouth as he saw them brought hope back into my life. Finally. We left the shop with a brown paper bag of joy tucked securely under his arm while he beamed brightly beside me. They weren't the ones we had been looking for, not exactly like the ones he had lost, but they were perfect nonetheless. Precisely what we both needed to chase the memories away. It wasn't that I wanted him to forget. Of course he would never forget them, and I could never forget my brother or his wife. We just needed the memories dampened. For a while. Nathan had to have the chance to live the life of a normal 6-year-old. Even if it was only for a moment. Now maybe for an hour or so he would have that again, playing with his trains on the living room floor while I defrosted the last of the leftovers from the week before. I didn't think about the trains again until later that night. Nathan was tucked up safely in bed fast asleep, and I had the dishes to attend to. The trains were lying quietly beside the track where they had been left while we ate our little plates of lasagna. I smiled slightly as I walked past them on my way to the kitchen. They weren't exactly the same as the ones we had been looking for, but they had been close enough. In a way, I was glad that they weren't identical to the ones that had been lost in the fire. As much as he had wanted them to be like the ones his father had given him, I wasn't sure that Nathan would be able to play with them without Rory by his side. As it always did now, thoughts of my brother brought a tear to my eye. I didn't wipe it away. I didn't have to. At that moment, I didn't have to worry about being strong for Nathan. I didn't have to worry about what he was seeing, what he was feeling. I didn't have to be his guardian as I washed up our dishes alone in the kitchen. Leaving the plates to drip dry overnight, I finally wiped my eyes as I returned to the living room. I smiled again as my sight fell on the brightly coloured wooden engines, until my brain registered the difference. One of the trains, the green and yellow one, the one that reminded me most of Rory, the one that reminded me of the set my brother had been given as a child, the set he had in turn given to his son. That bright flash of green and yellow was standing carefully on the track, facing me. Without realizing what I was doing, I knelt down between the little wooden track. My hand hovered over the green and yellow engine until I pulled it back. Somehow it felt wrong for me to touch it. Rory had always played with the green train. It was his favourite. Instead, I reached for the other as it lay on the carpet. It was painted red and blue. The colours felt right, fitting into my memories easily. The red train had always been mine to play with, the spot my brother usually saved for me as we played together. With a quiet little click, I placed my train onto the track and moved it back and forward a few inches. Nothing happened for a while. I sat there for a couple of minutes, willing the other engine to move, trying to convince myself that I wasn't crazy. And then it did. Tears streamed down my face as the little green and yellow toy moved towards mine, stopping just behind it. I could sense the presence there, even if I couldn't see it. There was no mistaking it. I had known him all my life. "Hello, Rory," I whispered into the empty space around me. "Hello, Bree," it whispered back to me one last time. That was White Gardenias and Wooden Trains, both from Tales from Behind the Wallpaper, which is available on Amazon as Kindle or paperback. Thank you for listening.